And the market is bouncing back. You know, they were saying there was going to be a Black Monday, and it didn't happen. I actually thought it was going to be pretty bad. Over the weekend, the Nikkei index hit the circuit breaker. It was selling off like crazy, and then they stopped it. Dow futures were down like 8 percentage points. And oh boy, was the media losing their minds. Jim Cramer said, it's going to get worse. And the moment he did, I was like, it's not going to get any worse? Because that dude is wrong about everything. And holy crap, he was wrong again. And the market did go down. It is still down from when Trump announced the tariffs. But why now is it rebounding? It's actually quite simple. The market bottomed out. Presumably, it may get lower. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. It's extremely volatile. And there are a lot of people talking about how the abrupt tariffs are going to shut their businesses down overnight. So this is not. We are not out of the woods just yet. That being said, a lot of people were trying to price in how the tariffs were going to affect companies, and that's why we saw a lot of selling off of stocks. Now that it's been reported 70 nations have reached out to the Trump administration saying, cut us a deal, let's make this work, stocks are starting to rebound. I do think, it's really funny is the other day when the fake news emerged that Trump would propose a 90-day pause on tariffs, the market skyrocketed. Then the White House came out and said that's not true, and then it dropped again. It just shows you that much of this is memes. It was memes the whole time. It's memes all the way down. Nobody is actually buying stock based on the dividend or what they think the company is going to generate. They're basically like, will other people want a piece of this company based on the perception of the market and this company? What a stupid system. But sure, fine, whatever, makes the world go around, right? Now, what I really love here is that you've got these people on the, not necessarily the liberals, but they're saying like, oh, watch, all the Trump supporters who said it didn't matter the market went down are now going to praise the market for going up. And I'm like, and? See, these people just don't get it. Their brains do not work. It's probably why they live in the world that they live in. For me, for instance, yesterday, I'm not gonna lump myself in with everybody who said it didn't matter. The market was going down. I've repeatedly said this is not good. Retirees getting hit, it's going to be bad, and Trump needs to get a handle on this. I think it's disingenuous when people on the right are like, so what about the market? It is better for this country than the market rebounds. And when these people on the right start to celebrate the market returning or talking about it, these liberals are like, aha, that proves you're a grifter the whole time. No, it proves you are, you morons. This is what is so stupid. Listen, when I see the market tank, okay, I know it's bad for retirees, and I want Trump to get it together. I want him to make things better for everybody, but I do know that there's a larger play at hand, and I think it's silly to assume otherwise. So on layer one, as I've said, universal tariffs don't make sense. We don't grow bananas here, right? We get them from Honduras and Guatemala and other countries, but there must be a larger play, and I don't know how it's going to run out. So I do think Trump is serious and that he's making these moves, I think largely because Gen Z is being sacrificed and we cannot sustain the system. The market rebounding, I laugh about because it proves these people who are losing their minds were wrong. Listen, it's not one for one. I recognize that Trump is making moves for the betterment of the country. Maybe imperfectly, maybe he's wrong, but there's intent there. I think it's stupid to assume he's just burning the country. Now, that makes no sense. It's his country, too. He makes money off it. They claimed the other day that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are working for their crony buddies. But then he wiped out trillions in private equity. So who's he helping now? Yeah, likely the younger generation. When the stock rebounds, proving that the left was losing their mind for no reason and it wasn't a Black Monday, and that Trump's plan, or whatever his plan may be, may actually benefit this country, then they say, how dare you talk about the market improving? Nah. These people are first order thinkers, single layer thinkers. They cannot understand what is currently going on. As of the filming of this video, the Dow is up 1,000 points, which is nuts, by the way, that we're at 40,000. Well, 39,000, 2.95. The S&P is up 3. The NASDAQ is up 3.5. And for most of you, that means nothing. Now, I know I got retirees watching this, but for the most part, it means nothing. Look, man, I've been talking to a bunch of people, talking to younger people that I know and work with, and nobody's got stocks. Nobody, Very few people have stock portfolios or exposure to this directly. So maybe some people have retirement accounts that are exposed, but they don't see that. There are people with retirement accounts that they directly manage. They can see the money go down. That we get. But there are people who have pensions and other funds that they are not directly exposed to, meaning if it's being managed, if the pension fund is being managed by a state or a government or a company, they're not going to see it directly, though they know there's going to be a negative impact. Donald Trump's tariff deals, if used as leverage, if that's the play, we don't know what his play is, seems to be working. That's why it's funny when all these people lost their minds that the apocalypse is here, because you buy when you're down. This is the problem that a lot of people have when it comes to the market, is that they buy during the hype and then they panic sell during the panic. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you buy during the hype, you're buying at the top, and if you sell at the panic, you're selling at the low. I remember when Bitcoin like 10 years ago jumped to 20K, and a ton of people were like, it's at 20,000, so I bought a bunch. And I'm like, well, that's dumb. I mean, look, to be fair, if you bought at 20K and you stayed, you're pretty happy today, even though it's down from its high of like $100 and something thousand. At the time, people bought in at 20 and then panic sold when it dropped down to 13. And they're like, I lost everything. I can't. You bought at the peak of the hype. Listen, I'm so frustrated. This is why I say, guys, you need to pay attention. You need to be active participants in the culture war, not passive observers. If you were an active participant, you would be rich. And I'm not saying it's because you're a grifter. I'm saying it's because you can see the trends. Look, man, this is what people do. All right. First, let me just tell you this. Go to timcast.com, click join us, get in the Discord server, 20,000 plus individuals you can talk to every single day, share ideas with, and stay in the know. Most of this community, they're ahead of the news, ahead of me. Listen, you wake up one day and you turn on the TV and you're behind the news, but it's okay, you're catching up. And they say Bitcoin reaches all-time high of $19,000. Granted, this is a long time ago. What happens then is people go, whoa, I don't want to miss the train. So they run to their computers, they buy Bitcoin, they use loans, whatever they sell, they transfer stocks. And then a month later, it crashes down to 13. And they go, oh, what have I done? I've lost. And they sell. And they say, before I lose everything, I have to sell. These are people who aren't paying attention, and they are getting ripped off. And don't be that person, okay? You don't got to go to Timcast to join. I'm just saying, pay attention. And I understand that most of you watching do, but there are some people, let me tell you, 40% of the people who watch this haven't subscribed and hit that notification bell. So the videos, you'll get notified when the videos pop up. Here's what happens. If you watch a show like mine, you would be a couple steps ahead of everybody else. So when crypto, for instance, starts rising, and I say, wow, looks like we're going to see a rally in the next few days or so. I'm not telling you to buy. I'm saying if you're ahead of the news cycle, you will see the trends and say, I should buy now. Then once it hits 19, you sell. I'm not telling you what to do financially. I'm just saying this is the issue. We had been talking about everything Trump was doing. Let me tell you about Tesla. I've said it a million times. We have talked about companies on the show. We talked about Nancy Pelosi buying NVIDIA. And it's like, that's strange. What a big purchase. And then she jumps up like 100%. Granted, it dropped down, but she made a lot of money, millions. That's the point. I'm always talking about how we sit here going over all the news, and we can see the trends and being like, wow, war is breaking out in what country? Yo, that's where we insert material. That's going to skyrocket in price. And then a week or two later, the price skyrockets. And I'm saying, if we actually just traded on the news that we report on, I'd probably be a billionaire. That's the point. I'm not saying do it to be rich. I'm saying if you were paying attention to everything Trump was saying he was going to do with tariffs and how tariffs impact the market, then you'd have liquidated. Or I read the story where the guy says, I'm going into cash because I think the market's going to go down. You'd liquidate. And then the market drops off, you buy back in, and you increase your portfolio by 20%. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm saying if you're not paying attention, you're buying it at the wrong time and you're selling at the wrong time. Hence, the narrative on the markets. We don't know exactly how they're going to respond, but I can tell you, Donald Trump has been talking about tariffs forever. Trump said during the election, he wants to get rid of the income tax and go to an all-tariff system. So when he got in, tons of people knew this, and they were telling up everybody on social media that they were exiting the market because Trump wants tariffs. That will create volatility and uncertainty, and he's going to get out. They're going to get out. Take a look at this. Again, let's see the latest update. So the markets went down a little bit, but it's still net up. Jonah Goldberg says, if the market has even a small rally today, I fully expect the same people who spent the last week belittling the stock market as a meaningless elite concern and just numbers to suddenly proclaim victory for America and leader Trump. These people are not smart enough to understand the world. This is what's frustrating. Let's break this down logically. Why were people belittling the stock market? Like I was a little bit. You know, look, I try to be in the middle of the road because I do respect that elderly folks have retirements they directly manage, and that will be bad for some people, and recessions mean dying. We don't want that. But let me explain. Gen Z and millennials don't have stocks. So we do not, as a nation, sacrifice the young for the old. While recognizing we don't want elderly people to die, we don't want retirement funds crashing. We are looking at a balance between do we enact policies that will benefit the next generation, or do we just say we go gung-ho on the retirees? Well, not so easy. Then the next day, when the market starts to increase and we go, wow. So Trump's tariff plan is getting better trade deals. We hope. I'm not a fan of free trade, so we'll see what happens. Apparently, Israel said they're going to drop all of their tariffs. Trump says no. No, we're not. Trump does want to maintain some minor tariff on foreign countries to promote American work. The market's going up. This isn't to say the market now suddenly matters more. It's, oh, good. We were concerned about retirees as Trump was working to implement policies that could help Gen Z and millennials. So all in all, we may get a win-win. And now they're like, aha, now all of a sudden you're proclaiming victory for Trump. Yeah, he put tariffs in place and the market's recovering, meaning we can have the tariffs and a strong market. You people are insane. I think I got one more. I posted, oh no, the stock market was improving. It was a little bit higher before I started recording this. And this guy, David Harsani, says, so the stock market matters? You want to play, bro? You want to play? DC Examiner said, in the context of whiny liberals panicking for no effing reason, it shows their idiocy and hypocrisy. Indeed. And he said, I get that grifter influencers don't have to worry about their 529s, but most normal people have very good effing reason to worry about a recession. See, these people don't get it. They're first-order thinkers. They think we could exist in a nation where Gen Z has separated themselves from the market. They can't buy houses. They're not buying. These people are too dumb to understand what economic collapse is going to be. But let me break it down for them because they need help. There used to be play places at McDonald's. Remember that? Some still have them. Most do not. Why? Well, two big reasons. Insurance is one. It's a lot of insurance. A kid gets hurt in a play place. But the other thing is the cost of maintaining a play place, be it insurance or otherwise, versus the amount of money made from having it has gone down because people don't have kids. It's harder to buy baby formula and other things. Why? People don't have kids. There's no market, creating a runaway effect, an exponential growth curve where the less people have kids, the more expensive it will be to have kids, creating an implosion. And guess what? Oh, I love this one. Who is going to fund Social Security when there's no workers anymore? You think some 24-year-old Gen Z guy is going to be like, might as well go get a job where I make nothing, can't afford a house, can't buy groceries, can't get a wife, can't have kids, can't do anything. I'd rather sit in my parents' house and play video games all day. It feels like I'm accomplishing more. And that's sad, really. But this is what happens when people feel like they cannot succeed, and it's the world y'all are building. So Donald Trump says, let's do something about that. And y'all lose your minds because old people are concerned about their retirement accounts. Okay, I can respect that to a certain degree. But I would gladly say to every single retiree, have you taken a look at the younger generation and what you are leaving behind for this country? In Japan, the elderly crawled into Fukushima to die from radiation poisoning because they said, we will not send our children into this radioactive disaster. We already lived our lives. We can do this to save them. Man, not in America, though. In America, the narrative is always, well, the elderly vote in larger numbers, so they matter more. And a nation that sacrifices the young for the old will not survive. So live in whatever world you want to live in. But I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm going to say it like it is, okay? By all means, I respect that retirees are worried. We don't want elderly people suffering. However, we have a problem. When you look at Gen Z guys, unmarried in their 30s with no jobs, they're called NEETs, not in employment, education, or training. Your country will cease to exist. So you tell me what sacrifice we as a nation should make. Now, I'm a millennial. I'm in the thick of it. We got a successful company. We've done decently well. But am I supposed to tell my staff, my followers, the young people who look up to me, we are going to let you suffer to make sure that the elderly can live comfortably? It's one or the other, not both. Well, actually, apparently now it might be both. We'll see what Trump ends up pulling off. Trump's been so wishy-washy and flip-and-flopping, I don't even know where he's going. That's why I said universal tariffs don't make sense on layer one. Putting a tariff on bananas doesn't make sense. We ain't growing bananas here. Unless he wants a company to set up a bunch of greenhouses and grow bananas. I doubt it will happen. So we do need imports for a lot of things. We can make avocados here, but not nearly as many, so it'll be more expensive. Some things we can make here, some things we can't. Trump is largely trying to stop loopholes. That's why Heard and McDonald Island, where there's only penguins, got tariffed, because people were actually using them as launching points to send in machinery to this country, tariff-free. So Trump said, no, I don't care where it comes from, tariff. The play may be beyond layer one, so we shall see. But I can't stand this. I have been watching a country for 10 years tell Gen Z, burn, we don't care about you. I have seen more than enough videos of the 24-year-old guy being like, here's what I can afford with my job, and he's living in a closet. And I'm like, yo, homie, at 22, you should have a house and a wife and your first kid. But we can't do that anymore. Don't worry, though. The boomers own 60 some odd % of all corporate equities and mutual funds. They're almost all of them own houses. Gen X, 3 out of 4 own houses. Millennials, 2 out of, half of millennials own houses. And for Gen Z, 1 in 4 owns a house. How are young adults supposed to build and maintain this nation when you won't pass it down to them? So I'm sick of this. I'm sick of it. I don't want to be, look, I'll put it this way. We are all headed for a nation where we as millennials will be elderly and we will be destitute because there will be no younger generation to do any labor. They won't exist. And if they do, they'll say, I ain't giving you nothing. So then the end result will be economic collapse, an aging population overwhelmingly at retirement age, unsustainable because nobody's doing the work to actually produce the food unless you want to tax young people 2 to 1 so that you can fund the elderly. You cannot exist in a system where you tell people you got the choice to work. But if you do, we're taking more than half to give to people who won't. They're going to say, nah. Or they're going to work and lie and work under the table and not pay taxes. Either way, it is unsustainable. So I don't know if Trump's play is ultimately going to work in this regard. But I can tell you this. These people are like, old people matter. Okay, I got to hand it to the boomers. As a generation, you gave it Star Trek: The Next Generation. Very, very good stuff. However, as a generation, this means not all boomers. Many and most boomers voted for Trump. They helped bring this about. I respect that. But there are a large cohort of boomers and silent generation who don't care that the youngest generation, that Gen Z, who is supposed to be now entering the workforce to inherit the reins of this nation, are incapable of doing so. What do you think is going to happen? When the Apollo missions went down, the average age, I think they say, was 26. 26-year-olds sending rockets to the moon? Or how about this? 26-year-olds building a soundstage in New Mexico to trick people, if that's what you believe. I think we went to the moon. I don't think it's as all complicated. But, what do I know? More importantly, today, the average age of NASA employees, I think, is 42. So where are the young people at? They are not engaging. They are breaking away, and we are screwed unless we turn this around. But by all means, let's prioritize policies for the elderly so we can squeeze a few more years out of comfort. I got news for you. It ain't working. You cannot extract in this regard. And you know what? If Gen Z voted, they turn things around. But they don't. And the elderly does vote. And here's where it gets worse. With the decrease in fertility, The younger generations will be outnumbered by the older generations, and that means the interests of the older generations will always outweigh the interest of the younger. Until the young stop working, retirements don't exist anymore, and the system implodes. And you know what? For Gen Z right now watching a market tank, their attitude is largely, I have nothing to do with the market. Why do I care? That's how I felt in 2008 when I was 22. I was broke. You think I cared the market collapsed? There was a great recession. I didn't notice. I struggled for work as it was. So what do you think? I'm sitting there being like, literally nothing in my life changed other than I can see other people are upset. It's bad. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But dude, we cannot maintain this path. It's untenable. I'm going to wrap it up there. Stay tuned, my friends. We got more content coming up for you. So hang out, follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast, and pick up some Cast Brew coffee at castbrew.com, and we'll see you all in the next segment.